Hey everyone, it's Dave Asprey. I'm really excited to be talking with you about Bio03, the third box from Quarterly. First though, I gotta tell you something. I sound a little different, and it's not because I've had a vocal cord upgrade. It's because I spent way too much time in my hyperbaric oxygen chamber without adequately moisturizing the air. You actually bubble oxygen through salt water, and I use regular water. So I have a little bit of laryngitis because after I got out of the hyperbaric oxygen, I got on a plane, flew to the desert, stayed there for 3 days for Revitalize, and I've been really hoarse ever since. I'm getting past it, but it's taking me more time than normal. Things that seem to help are like glutathione and all, but this one's been a bit of a challenge because once your vocal cords get irritated, it usually takes about 10 days of not talking. And in my life with a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a #1 ranked radio show, not talking for 10 days, that's kind of like dying. Not really, but it's annoying. So anyway, you can hear me, but I sound weird. I'm also filming this, if you haven't seen it before, in my brand new cool chair. And this is what is going to be the set for Bulletproof Radio. Behind me is something that you've probably never seen. When you pull one of these drawers open, it's got these bizarre things that are here to help you with filing. This piece of furniture won a Design Innovation Award in 1885, not as a piece of furniture, but as a way of organizing information faster than ever before. This is the original hard drive. Before we had hard drives, this is what our great-grandparents at this point used. So throughout the biohacking facility, I have things like this because the equipment that we're recording this on is equal to millions of these. But this was so state-of-the-art that they had national competitions for who could file stuff faster in them, and they actually made them beautiful back then. Here, some of our technology is beautiful, but some of it's not. So I've filled the environment around me with things that make me think about stuff like that. So when people swing by to be interviewed here at the studio, you're basically immersed in an environment of creativity, and I wanted to share that with you while we're filming. You'll also notice that there are some words on here that you can probably read. There's vitality, wisdom, strength, soul, a bunch of others. And in an upcoming blog post, I'll actually write about the power of words and exactly why I put those on there. There's a really specific neurological or maybe more psychological reason for it. And it's kind of cool. But when you have to figure out what are the words that matter the most to you, it really makes you do a lot of thinking. So I'll walk all of you through that, but I just want to give you a sneak peek. Not to mention, I have the coolest chair on the planet, and I'm just completely stoked. Can I turn around again? Check this out. It's like metal and riveted like an airplane. It's awesome. Anyway, I'm having a good day. Now, let's talk about your box. First thing in the box is, in case you can't actually see that, or hopefully you can by the time we edit the video, that is premium VIGR elk antler velvet. I used all of what I had and accidentally didn't get my next package before it was supposed to be here. So obviously I test this stuff out. I really like the VIGR elk antler velvet, which is actually a tongue twister. The problem is I can't show it to you in person right now, so we're editing in a picture of it so you can see it just because I tossed the bottle and I'm waiting for the next bottle to arrive. I like this stuff for a variety of reasons. For years I've been using adaptogens and things that help to support my natural hormones because I also took bioidentical testosterone. The reason I did that is because when I was in my late 20s, my natural testosterone production was very, very low and I had tons and tons of estrogen. And that was because of environmental toxic exposures, genetics, and the fact that I was obese, insulin resistant, and had a variety of things like that going on because I wasn't eating the right foods and because I wasn't living in an environment that was optimal for human biology. About maybe 2.5 years ago, I managed to go off of testosterone entirely, and I take herbs and things like that that support my natural testosterone production, so it's right where it should be for someone at actually someone a little bit younger than me even, but it's roughly on a scale of, if 10 is the upper end of the range, I tend to hang around 6 or 7, which is where you want to be. About the middle, but a little bit high, and it makes a huge difference for how you think and how you feel. One of the original ways of making your testosterone stronger and healthier and probably helping with growth hormone comes from Chinese medicine. And there's deer antler velvet and there's elk antler velvet, and elk is considered stronger. So those are kind of your two choices. And there may be some weird African traditions I don't know about for other animals with antler. Maybe moose antler velvet would just absolutely rock. I know no one who's ever tried it, but my father-in-law does hunt moose, and I'm actually kind of thinking maybe I should ask him to do it. But then again, I don't know how to make it. The reason I like this stuff is it comes from elk in Western Canada, my part of the world. There are lots of healthy, amazing elk up here. They're also tasty. Because in the part of the world where they hunt these elk, it's very, very cold. Where I live, it's not very cold, and we only get a few elk. But when you go to the really harsh winters, what it does is the same thing as taking ice baths or doing high intensity exercise. When you stress an organism, whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal, what happens is it gets stronger if it doesn't kill you, if it's the right kind of stress. Temperature stress can be really good for you. And toxin stress generally isn't really good for you depending on the nature of the toxin. So you don't like give cyanide to elk to make them stronger, but you do freeze their asses off to make them stronger, and they make more of the compounds that we're looking for. So this stuff is basically an anti-aging compound, cell regeneration, boosting immunity, and even for inflammation. It's got collagen, amino acids, and special phospholipids. And you've probably heard me talk about phospholipids before, but basically it's one thing to have a droplet of fat. It's another thing to phosphorylate them so that they can be absorbed into the body more easily and specifically into the brain. The growth factors in here enhance your cartilage and cell growth. So for things like wound healing, this stuff is kind of magic, but you'll probably notice it first, at least if you're a guy, in, well, what we'll call the morning kickstand. So studies actually show that it can increase that testosterone production. Now, if you're a woman, you shouldn't be waking up with a kickstand, but a little bit of testosterone increase for you will change your life. It makes you happier. It makes you more focused, and it also increases your sex drive. It is amazing how many women are testosterone deficient. And if you hear the podcast, like with Dr. Sarah Gottfried, or heck, when I talk with my wife, Dr. Lana, who does fertility consulting globally, it's a very common problem in women to be just low in testosterone. Another anti-aging physician who I won't name because she probably wouldn't like it, actually has testosterone pellets implanted in her butt. Not enough to grow hair, but just enough that she's like, I love my life. So a little boost for women might actually be more important than a little boost for men because we already had some. There's something called gangliosides in here, and gangliosides are shown in studies to enhance learning, memory, and cognition. So you've got like a nootropic effect and you've got a hormonal effect, which is kind of cool. There's something called bone morphogenic protein, which helps you grow stronger bones. If you're doing heavy weightlifting or say maybe using the Bulletproof Vibe for whole body vibration, you're trying to get a stimulus in there to trigger muscle growth, or sorry, to trigger bone growth, and you need to have weight-bearing exercise to do that. And there's some other things in there that helps your joints. And if you're a heavy-duty athlete kind of person, you can just recover faster. So this is a pretty amazing thing. And what you'll find is that it is hard to gather this stuff and hard to take it. In fact, it's so rare that I was watching Longmire, which is a pretty cool TV show on Netflix. And they just had a whole episode where the plot was around someone who was going around and illegally killing elk in order to get their velvet so that he could sell it on the black market or something. So this kind of entered our consciousness, but it's amazing what happens when you get the real stuff. So I wanted you guys to experience that in this box. All right, next up, I can show you some things that are actually in my hand. My friends who say things like, eat good fat, this would of course be Ancient Organics Ghee. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of ghee and butter and saturated fat from clean sources in general. Ancient Organics does amazing things with ghee, and if you've never tried ghee, this is the place to start because you're not going to find any ghee that tastes better than this. Even if you make it at home, you'll be challenged to figure out how to make it taste like this, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, this stuff's been used for more than 5,000 years in Ayurvedic medicine, and Ayurveda will tell you that 70% of disease comes from your food and your diet, and the longer I live, the more I hack my body and my brain, the more I believe that that's the case, because I've run into just so many things where you're like, that can't possibly be the diet. Why would that be associated? There is a pathway. And on the Bulletproof Facebook page, I just posted a study where they're like, oh, we just noticed the immune system does go into the brain. Sorry, we've been teaching in medical textbooks that you can't get through the blood-brain barrier. It was all totally wrong. They found the pathways. They were just hard to see because they're running next to a major artery. So now all those people like me who've been saying for years, and the Ayurvedic people have been saying for generations, oh yeah, what happens in the gut, what happens in your immune system does affect your brain directly because you can see it. But now they actually understand the mechanism for it, and that's kind of groundbreaking. A lot of people shared that. But this is an example of why what you eat matters so much. In India and in actually Tibet, where I've spent some time, you'll find that ghee is a sacred symbol of nourishment, healing. It's used like as a daily ritual. At least it was. Most of India now uses vegetable oil, and this is kind of a sacred thing, and it's reserved for special occasions because they know it tastes good, but they believe, like Americans do, that butter's bad for them. They've been kind of brainwashed. Although in the north of India, they still eat a lot more of it because it's cheaper than vegetable oil if you're in an area where there's lots of cattle. So there's just so much evidence that this is good for you. What they do to make ghee, and what you could do yourself if you want to, is it's a long, slow process to remove the moisture and the milk solids and all the impurities. I've used Kerrygold and Anchor and all these other kinds of butter over the years to make my own ghee. You throw it all in a pot, cook it at a low temperature, uncovered, and steam comes out. Normal butter is about 84% butter fat if it's European style grass-fed good butter. American butter can have a lot more water in it, and it's also usually not grass-fed. But when you get that good butter, you've got to get rid of the water, and then you see these proteins caramelize and fall down and form a foam on the top. You get rid of the foam, get rid of the chunks, and what's left is pure fat without any of the normal proteins that are in butter that can cause problems for some people. There's even something in there that's related to butyric acid, a butyrofilin. I'm probably saying that slightly wrong. That can trigger in some people with a genetic component a reaction to butter or cream or milk. But for those people, ghee totally rocks. So ghee is the purest you can get. It doesn't froth up the way butter does in coffee, but it tastes buttery and good. What you'll find with this stuff, you cook with it. It's great because it has the highest flash point you can get, 485 degrees Fahrenheit. Don't do that to your protein anyway. But if you cook something in this, it's just going to taste caramely and buttery and amazing. I'm such a fan of this stuff. You'll get omega-3, omega-9. You'll get your butyric acid, your conjugated linoleic acid. And there are 9 phenolic antioxidants in here. And the phenol group is important. Red wine, chocolate, coffee, all has phenols. But there is a study that shows that when you put phenols in the gut, that's what feeds the Bacteroidetes family, which thin people have more of, versus the Firmicutes family, which fat people have more of. If you haven't checked out the Bulletproof Diet book, I discuss how the phenolic intake, particularly with butter fat, there's actually a study, it's a mouse study, but still, who does that? They looked at the genetic changes in your gut bacteria from eating fat and coffee together. Like, I would have sponsored the study had I known this one was doing it. It was in China. I didn't sponsor it, but it's kind of cool. And here's the final thing. If you meditate or you just are into this kind of stuff, not only does Ancient Organics use pastured grass-fed cows, which you'd expect, they only produce this during a full or a waxing moon in a kitchen where they chant mantras to honor the tradition of artisan ghee. I'm not kidding. Traditional herbalists and the traditional way of making ghee, the phase of the moon matters. Can I quantifiably tell you that it matters? No. Can I tell you that no one cares about ghee more than these guys at Ancient Organics? Yes, I can, which is why I recommend this one. So that's just kind of a nice little bonus there, but this is as perfectly made as you can get it, even if there isn't a full mechanism to tell us that that last thing's important. Anyhow, you're just going to love this ghee. I incorporate butter and ghee in my diet, and it makes me happy. And when you make bulletproof coffee with ghee and brain octane, put a little bit less ghee because it's more concentrated than butter. Expect it to not be foamy, but also expect it to have like a nutty, caramely flavor. Like I can't say enough good things about ghee. Ghee is amazing. Next up in our box, we have... Let me hold this up for you. See that little guy? That is, you called it Stank Stop Deodorant. And This has no parabens, no aluminum, no preservatives, no fake fragrances. Because all those things, if you read the Better Baby book, even a little bit in the Bulletproof Diet, putting stuff on your skin, especially your armpits where you have lots of lymph nodes, lots of circulation, and aluminum is what causes your shirts to turn yellow in the armpits, not sweat, which is kind of an annoying thing. When you open this stuff up, it just looks like a little cream in there. What it has in it, though, is there's some coconut oil, which has antibacterial effects, largely from the medium chain fats that are in it. And it kills the weird bugs that cause the stinkiness, and it doesn't leave you all oily because it's got arrowroot powder and baking soda, which helps to soak up the sweat and the toxins. There's zinc oxide in it, which is kind of cool because zinc works with your body to reduce perspiration, even though it's not really an antiperspirant. So you get a slight reduction in sweating, but note to self, don't use antiperspirants. Antiperspirants block a really important function for your body, and they're linked to basically backing up in the lymph nodes, which can be tied to cancer. So the point here is do the things that it takes to be comfortable. And if you have to wear it for a wedding, fine. But if you're putting antiperspirant on every day, you're reducing your body's ability to detox, and something isn't quite right if you need to have that all the time. The essential oils in here also smell really good. It's got something in it, though, lavender, which is just a good smell. Both genders like that. It's also got clary sage, which adds a little hint to it that I really, really appreciate. And clary sage oil, aside from smelling good, also reduces excessive sweating. So this is like nature's kind of hacked together antiperspirant between the effects you're getting from zinc and clary sage. You're getting as close to an antiperspirant as you can get without actually just blocking perspiration in a very kind of aggressive way. There's also grass-fed tallow and shea butter, which just moisturize your armpits. Which, okay, I'm not sure that my armpits ever had a problem with being moisturized, but hey, it's kind of a cool idea that the skin there can benefit from that. I would believe it's true, but I've never had dry. Actually, I did used to have dry, flaking armpits, come to think of it. That might have been my bad antiperspirant. Anyhow, you also get a discount on this stuff if you want to order it again. But this is TSA very travel friendly, and this will last you for a while. So you don't need a lot of it to go a long way. It smells really nice, and it's one of those things, you replace a big stick of weird synthetic chemicals with something that came from sustainable quality sources. This is in alignment with the Bulletproof philosophy that says that we are connected to the world around us, and the things we do out there affect what happens in here. You change the environment around you, including the environment in your armpits. It changes your performance. Using a healthier antiperspirant that reduces your using a deodorant, not an antiperspirant, that reduces the biological stress on your detox systems. It just makes sense. It's a simple change, and it doesn't really cost you anything. You're going to take 30 seconds to smear something on your armpits. You might as well smear something that doesn't reduce your ability to process other chemicals in the body. Small changes added up equals a big difference, and that's why this stuff is from Fat Face is a really cool idea. Next up, let me show this guy to you. That is called the Dirt Tooth Powder. This is a custom-made jar that's a size just for Bulletproof. It's a 2-month supply, and it's got an upgraded label for us even. And what this stuff is a food-grade toothpaste, and you can eat it, and all the ingredients are in it to help your mouth take care of itself. It's also, see when I open it, it's called tooth powder for a reason. Let's see if I don't pour that on my laptop. Completely TSA legal. You can take a little baggie of it if you want to look illicit, or you can pack this in your bag. You don't have to put it in your little baggie. So this saves you space if you travel. But it's got bentonite clay in it. And if you've watched Moldy, the documentary, which is, as of today, live, moldymovie.com, free screening. But bentonite clay, along with activated coconut charcoal, another Bulletproof product. Those are two of the things that can help to bind to mycotoxins in your body to help your body eliminate them naturally. Bentonite, though, is also used orally, and it's been used for thousands of years by different cultures, and even parrots will eat bentonite. There's some tribes who used to carry little balls of rolled up bentonite clay, and they would eat them when they were having food because they knew that they wouldn't get sick when they would do that, because bentonite can bind those toxins that come in on your food and help you naturally eliminate them. Since you get a lot of toxins in your mouth, you can actually use that to help scrub away and then bind to the things that happen when you brush your teeth, and then they leave. It's kind of cool, and it's not the way that most toothpaste works. When you buy the commercial stuff, there's a lot of harsh chemicals and surfactants and abrasives, but there isn't anything to bind what comes out. So this is a different, more nuanced way of doing it. It also has something called myrrh gum resin. And myrrh is one of those ancient herbs that's mentioned in the Bible even, frankincense and myrrh and things like that. So these are very old but very useful healing compounds. And this is an anti-inflammatory that you can actually take orally if you want to, but using it topically is pretty effective. It's got cinnamon, which is antibacterial, but doesn't get rid of your good bacteria in your mouth. Because here's something that you wouldn't expect. When you use a harsh toothpaste, or specifically a mouthwash, it kills the bacteria that make nitric oxide in your body. And a while back, this is going back 5 or so years, I was like, I'm going to get rid of that stuff that gives me bad breath. So I made my own mouthwash. It had like vodka as a healthier choice of alcohol than what's normally in these things. It had xylitol, it had a bunch of essential oils, and I switched with it. And I always got really dry eyes. And what was going on is I was killing the good bacteria that start in the mouth. So when you use a bacteria or an antibacterial solution in your mouth, you can actually do more damage than good. Using things like essential oils and herbs that balance the bacteria, kill the bad stuff, but let the good stuff thrive, you'll feel the difference. Because nitric oxide is responsible for vasodilation. It's also responsible for that stuff that can give you dry eyes and make you not feel as well. But here's the thing. If you're using the wrong toothpaste and it reduces nitric oxide production in your body, you're going to feel it in your morning kickstand. It all comes down to these basic signaling molecules. Yeah, so this is one of those things. Really, could your toothpaste and your mouthwash be doing that? They actually could be reducing blood flow in important regions like the brain. What other important region were you thinking about? All right, TSA, I already mentioned that. I always prepare notes, so you guys know this. That's why I'm looking down. I don't just talk randomly, although I do that too. I generally make sure that I know what I want to say. So there's a preparation that I go through so that I don't forget to tell you something important. Next up, this is lion's mane. Lion's mane is a mushroom, a fungus, because I'm a fan of medicinal use of mushrooms, not necessarily nutritional use for reasons I've talked about in the Bulletproof Diet book. If you're starving, mushrooms are great. Are they an optimal food for most people? I think there's a bigger downside than a lot of people have acknowledged, particularly on some of the ones that have only recently started being eaten. This stuff, though, when you look at it, lion's mane has great evidence that it works. It's been used for thousands of years, and it's found on broadleaf trees and logs, and it looks kind of like a white waterfall of cascading icicles. It grows here where I live, and I've actually eaten wild lion's mane, and it's okay. It's pretty delicious, actually. And believe it or not, I cooked it with ghee from Ancient Organics, and that was even more delicious. It supports the brain and the nervous system. This is one of the herbs that I use with clients during 40 years of Zen neurofeedback training. During that training, it's 1 week, super intensive, like it exhausts your brain to the point where it just won't work anymore. If we can get more stamina or more recovery and growth, we can do more training in less time. So lion's mane is part of my formula for doing that. And I wanted to share it with you because people who subscribe to this box are generally looking to get a little bit more out of life, a little bit more out of your effort. If you make it easier for your brain to grow and change and adapt, you're doing yourself a favor across everything that you do. So that's why I thought lion's mane would be really cool. I don't take it all the time. When I'm doing something mentally challenging, when I'm doing more neurofeedback, when I'm doing vestibular activation training for my visual systems, something like that, then I take it for a week or so afterwards. And if I was studying for something right now, I would be taking it as well. I think it's useful to pulse these things, but it's pretty cool. So you got your mental clarity, your focus and memory. And the reason that this works, actually in a way kind of similar to blueberries, is that this stuff boosts nerve growth factor, which is something that you need for your nerve cells to survive, and it allows you to remyelinate neurons. If you remember what myelination is from reading the Bulletproof Diet book, myelination is what happens when you have a nerve that's used a lot. When that pathway is used a lot, it'll grow insulation on the outside of the nerve. So an unmyelinated nerve carries electricity basically at a certain speed. When you insulate that, just like putting insulation on an extension cord, there's less resistance for that electron to flow, and you can transmit that electricity about 3,000 times faster, according to one study that I've come across. So when you practice something enough times, the nerves become myelinated and suddenly you have superhuman speed. What if you could myelinate faster because you had more nerve growth factor? Well, lion's mane is kind of important for that kind of stuff. So now you see why it's in your quarterly box. There's also antioxidants, beta-glucan, which is an immune-stimulating polysaccharide. People sometimes say, sugar bad, and generally speaking, I'm in agreement with that perspective. Sugar isn't really good for you, and you don't want to be eating particularly a lot of sugar. A gram of sugar is not a big deal, but some sugars are signaling molecules. In fact, I love science, we used to strip off the outside of cells because they had junk sugar on them. Well, these are polysaccharides. These are sugars that are aligned structurally in a specific way. And it turns out that they matter pretty greatly for cells. We used to think they didn't matter because they weren't protein, and protein was all that mattered. And then someone noticed, oh, that cell membrane is lipids, and oh, the fats matter. There isn't much in your body that doesn't have a role. If there was no point to it being there, it would probably not be there. That's what evolution tends to do for us. There's some recent research about lion's mane specifically that shows that it can have an effect even on depression and anxiety, as well as the cognitive functioning and memory protection. There's also other stuff that's coming out about it around leukemia, shrinking colon tumors in mice, and other stuff like that. So this stuff doesn't cure cancer at all, but there are some really interesting studies about it. And so what I would say is the preponderance of evidence says it's going to help your mental performance. It's not going to cause any harm, and it may have some other benefits out there. So I incorporate it on a pulsed basis into my stack, and I thought it's something that you guys would appreciate. By the way, if you order the stuff again, you get 25% off. I forgot to tell you that. And there's one more thing I wanted to include in here that's I'm actually really excited about. And this doesn't count towards the value of your box. It's just something I threw in there because I'm just too excited not to throw it in there. It is, you've probably seen Glutathione Force, the Bulletproof product. If you've ever had Glutathione Force, this is one of the most popular things that I sell, believe it or not, because it's so powerful. You feel it in your head, but it comes in a little, actually it comes in 4 of these syringes. Each syringe is 10 doses, so you get 40 doses in a box. The problem is the flavor that we used to sell. I think the best description I ever heard from a friend was Dave, the stuff works, I take it, but it's kind of liquid dog fart flavored. It is so sulfurous and nasty, it's disgusting. You know what, my kids take it, I've taken it, I got used to the flavor and the benefits have been worth it. But the new stuff here, it's a different color, more orange. This is orange spice, and it is a flavor that is so much better that my kids actually smile when I give it to them instead of giving me that look like, Daddy, you're not going to make me, really? So I sent this to you as part of the package because I wanted you to experience glutathione that works really well, but also doesn't taste really bad. We've been working for like 9 months on just getting the flavor right, and it's a whole new game for glutathione. Glutathione in your body is the primary antioxidant. It's also the primary detoxing thing in your liver. And your brain is full of glutathione. Your mitochondria require glutathione. I get intravenous glutathione every now and then. I have for years. And when you boost your glutathione, you feel better for days. The reason that I make my own glutathione is that you can't really digest glutathione. You can't absorb it well from an oral capsule, because your gut breaks down the glutathione, you digest it, and you just get some really expensive amino acids. So you can get something called liposomal glutathione, where you wrap the glutathione molecule inside a layer of fat. Your body loves fat, so it soaks the fat and the molecule in, and you get the benefits. The problem with liposomes is they only work in the top 5 inches of your GI tract. You have to hold it in your mouth. They usually don't taste very good. And then once you swallow it, it doesn't do anything anymore. Glutathione Force is different because we engineered a lactoferrin molecule along with a liposome. So through the entire length of your GI tract, anywhere a liposome would absorb, which includes in the gut, or a lactoferrin, which is in the gut, then you can get the material in this case glutathione, in a way that you cannot do just in the top of the mouth. In studies, this delivery mechanism can deliver whatever it's carrying about 5 to 8 times better than a plain liposome. To date, we are the only company to use this patented technology to deliver what is a natural substance instead of to deliver pharmaceuticals. So there's a lot of engineering that went into this, and you're getting this kind of as a bonus along with your box because you're going to like how you feel on it. If you drink, especially if you're drinking wine or beer, which tend to have a bigger downside for hangovers, try this before you go to bed, or try it before you go out to drink, or try it the next morning and see if you feel the difference. I will be shocked if you don't. If you don't drink, try it before you study, try it before bed, try it in the morning. Just see the difference. I notice a difference, and if you feel like you're starting to get sick, it's a really good idea. I really wish that I'd remembered to take a bunch of this after I got out of my hyperbaric oxygen chamber. I took a lot of unfair advantage. I didn't take glutathione, but I should have, because I probably wouldn't even be a horse now if I'd managed my biology a little bit better. That said, that's this box. You got about $140, somewhere in that range, worth of value, some custom-made products, and some stuff that I really love, Ghee. Things that make your brain work better, the things that reduce the toxic burden and just help you manage your biology. And honestly, who doesn't brush their teeth or use deodorant? Doing those simple tasks a little bit better with better quality ingredients that decrease the burden on your body and increase your performance. Like, it's all those little things that not only help you perform better. I was quoted recently saying that aging is death by 1,000 cuts. So when you get old, it's not like, oh, this one thing is the master switch for aging. We turn that off and nothing's going to happen. No, it's called wear and tear. It's like, what wears out your car? Well, wait, the tires wear out. There's like internal things on the engine. There's ultraviolet rays. There's chips from things. And over time, your car just kind of gets like an old car, and it's not one thing. Your body's the same way. So what we're working to do with these bulletproof techniques is to reduce the wear and tear, increase the regeneration rate, and then to boost the performance in ways that might not be obvious. And some of these things, like switching to better personal care products that are easier to travel with when you're going to carry them around, that makes a difference, and it matters. So here's some things that I use and techniques that I really like and appreciate, and I hope that you've had as much fun, or you will have as much fun using this box as I had putting it together. This stuff is way cool, and I look forward to sharing box 4 with you, because I'm already putting together this long list of amazing stuff. You're going to seriously love box 4. So sign up for it now if you're not already subscribed, and thank you for your time on this video.